Brian Adams, Summer of 69 on 106.1 The GOAT. And I mentioned at the top of the hop this morning that we were going to have a special guest on the show. And I don't know if you can hear it in my voice right now, but I am so excited to have him on today. It's very fitting that his tour is called the Bucket List Tour, because for kids of my generation, he is a bucket list person to talk to. He's a stand-up comedian. He's a movie and TV star. He's appeared in video games, and he's got his own web series. He's written 2 books, Professional Idiot and A Hard Kick in the Nuts, What I've Learned from a Life of Terrible Decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve-O is on the show today. And Steve, I just want to apologize in advance if I fanboy too much. Just know I'm a lifelong fan, and I'm super excited today.
Yeah, easy, man. Nothing to worry about with me, brother.
All right, Steve-O, so let's jump right into this here. I want to talk about the tour first and foremost, which is why we're here today. The Bucket List Tour, which is a mix of video and live stand-up as well, too. And you had a very specific reason for doing that. So let's get into that.
Well, what happened was I got into performing stand-up. Well, I first tried performing stand-up in 2006. And in 2010, I really dove into it and started touring. And I was on the comedy club circuit for 11 years. Over the course of that time, I gradually started introducing a video component into my stand-up. At first, it was just in post-production. I would add video into the special after the fact to illustrate the stories I was telling. And when I put out my second special, when I taped my second comedy special, I thought, man, like, the video works so well. I want to bring it on tour, and I want to stop having my stand-up be like going down memory lane, you know? Like, it felt like I was regaling my past, and I wanted to create new stories. So when it came to creating new stories and new video, I felt like that, you know, there's not a lot that we haven't done already. There really aren't that many ideas left to do, except for the ones that I'd had forever and thought I would never do. Like, there were these ideas that were just so nuts. They were never supposed to happen. And I would never have been able to do them for Jackass. But I just decided, screw it, you know, like, so I really like went crazier than ever, filmed everything. You know, I made a show where I tell the stories of all these ideas. And after each bit in the show, I screen the footage, and it's unbelievable, man. I'm so stoked about it because all of my worlds have converged. You know, I've married all of the different things that I do into one show.
Now, I kind of want to get into Steve-O, the storyteller here, because I know that's a huge part of your stand-up. It's something I love about it. But first and foremost, like, I've been watching all the promos for the Bucket List Tour, and you say it goes even further than Jackass. It's the stuff you could, like you just said, it's the stuff that you couldn't do for that. And I watched Jackass Forever last night to prep for this interview, and I mean this with love here. Like, how much further can it go?
As an example, in the bucket list, I get a medical professional in disguise to administer stolen general anesthesia drug to my arm while I'm riding a bicycle. Oh, and that is flagrantly illegal. You know, that's the thing that I couldn't do for Jackass, is anything that like flagrantly breaks the law. And as does the one where do you know what an epidural is? Is when they put a 4-inch needle into your spine and inject a drug into your spinal cavity, which renders you paralyzed. Yeah, they do it for, like, sometimes they do it when women are having particularly gnarly childbirth. Like, it's what if they have to amputate your leg, they'll give you an epidural. I got the epidural. I did the epidural foot race. Yeah. like literally, the doctor, you know, the doctor's wearing a disguise, and he injects this stolen drug into my spinal cavity and pulls out the needle, and I take off running. which is a really gnarly thing to do. The show's also like triple X rated. There's actually a scene where I want to be careful on the radio, but I serviced myself with a man strapped to my back and falling out of an airplane.
That's one way to do Mile High Club, isn't it, man?
It's sort of, I guess it's one take on the Mile High Club, yeah.
Well, now I have to ask almost, like, when you're doing stuff that's blatantly illegal, like with the doctor and stuff, is there, like, reprisal for that?
I mean, it's after the fact and nobody got hurt in the end, like, certainly, like, that was life-threatening stuff, and everybody was appropriately terrified of anything going wrong on the day. It was the medical professionals, they risked everything that they've worked for to do that. I mean, it makes no sense to me that those people were willing to do that. But I think after the fact, like law enforcement or whoever, like, they've got much more important priorities than to chase down something that ended up being okay.
All right, one more thing I kind of want to touch on here is I was reading stories of like some dudes sitting out in your theater, and we hear that tagline in like horror movies and stuff. Is that for real, or is that that's a kind of a goal?
It's not a goal. It's not anything I ever wanted to have happen, but it's 100% true that we have dudes passing out at my show. That the main bucket list item / video that makes guys pass out is called the Vasectomy Olympics.
Oh boy.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I heard a joke. What is the definition of macho? It's a man who jogs home from his own vasectomy. Just remembered it, and I had this crazy idea of vasectomy, and I thought, oh, well, like, I've got a son, I'll get a vasectomy and then do all kinds of crazy. I was surprised when guys started passing out in the audience. And I never want that to happen, but I got to say I'm a little bit proud of it because I never heard of anybody passing out in a Jackass movie. And it really seemed that that's like hard proof that I've raised the bar with this show.
I got to say, just describing that one sends a shudder up the old spine there. But we got to take a quick break here. We're going to be talking with Steve-O all morning on the Goat's Morning Breath. We're going to find out more about the show. We're going to look back on the life of Steve-O up to here and more about Steve-O the storyteller. So that's all coming up. Stick around.
The Goat.
Pop Evil, Eye of the Storm on 106.1 The Goat. And we are back on with legendary Jackass star, author, podcast host, and stuntman extraordinaire. Steve-O is on the Goat's Morning Breath. And Steve-O, I want to touch on something else that's super important about your show. And something people should know even going into the bucket list. Yes, it's extreme. Yes, it's got all the stunts. It's triple X rated. But there's also a certain storytelling aspect to it as well. But you still really go all in, whether it's on the stunts, the life, sobriety. Like, I know that's not as easy as it looks. So is it just kind of the Steve-O code to life to go all in no matter what you're doing?
That is absolutely, I think that's a fair assessment. It's become painfully obvious that moderation is not my strong suit. I don't go half in on anything, really.
Exactly, but it feels like it's something important for you to talk about these aspects of your life, which, again, like I said, is not an easy thing to do.
I think that the reason for anything when it comes to me is just that I'm an attention whore. Like, I can't help but talk about anything and everything. I think when it relates to sobriety, like, I'll talk about things a certain way at a public level and another way at a private level. But yeah, I'm basically an open book across the boards.
And I know you're a bit of a workaholic with the book, with the movie, with the podcast, with the show.
Yeah.
But one thing I've noticed is through all this, you keep the core fundamentals going. Even with a new crew of guys doing the new Jackass movie, which I just watched last night. It was awesome. 20 years ago, when you guys were just with a camcorder and a dream, did you think this was possible that you'd be doing this, let alone plausible?
I mean, if I'm honest, I wouldn't have guessed that there was any chance that I would still be alive at 20 years ago. I don't think I had that great of a chance of seeing 30 years old. But then again, I wouldn't have been sure that I'd be dead either. But I had a very bleak view of the future. I would never have expected 20 years ago that today I would be in a good position, a good place. I think, I mean, for example, just had the 20th anniversary of Jackass, the movie, the first Jackass movie. It was pretty big. It was a super big thing, like #1 in the world. So we had the big premiere, and back then it was even like that they would stagger movies internationally a little bit more. It was like I want to say the following March, like maybe February or March of 2003, the British premiere of the movie. And I remember being flown over there by Paramount Studios, put up in a really nice hotel in London. I was in like a pretty serious depression because Knoxville had sworn that Jackass was done, that we weren't going to do any more Jackass. This was the final hurrah, and I walked into this huge hotel room in London and just felt sad because I thought, oh, well, there's nothing else coming up after this where I'm going to get a big fancy hotel room. This is the end of the line. I just thought that was the end of the line, that it was fun. I had a great moment that I would kind of peter on and peter out. And I just imagined that my future would be really dark and depressing. Sorry if you're live on the radio and I just swore.
No, man, I got the tone button. You're free to tell your real story here, man.
All right, cool. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, that, like, I just remember that very vividly, like thinking, oh man, this is it for like a fancy special treatment, it's going to be all lame stuff from here on out. And now here I am, and it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
No, absolutely. And I don't want to play like armchair shrink or anything like that, but I think it has the next few years especially, you kind of explored the avenues to work on you, not only from a personal life sense, but also from a career sense as well, too.
For sure. I mean, when I described that way that I was feeling 20 years ago, again, I didn't expect to live very long, so it kind of didn't matter that my future was bleak. I was just so out of control on drugs and everything. Like, I just thought I was in free fall mode, and bound to crash and die at any point. But then when I started taking care of myself, and then more importantly, I stopped killing myself, then I was like freaked out by the idea that I actually might not die super young, which seems counterintuitive, but I got terrified. Maybe I was going to live for many more decades. And then it became a real question of, oh my God, like, how am I going to live? How am I going to sustain myself? It became important to me to become much entrepreneurial, like maybe not entrepreneurial, but just more like smart about business. I started like thinking about like actually earning and saving money, like seriously, for the first time after I got sober. And where I'm at today, I still think everything's pretty precarious, like one incident could wipe out everything I've worked for, like, and that could happen like on any given day. So I always feel like everything's pretty precariously hanging in the balance, and I've just got to hustle and work. But with that said, I'm really happy with where I'm at today.
Absolutely. And there's one thing I want to touch on, because we got to take a break in a second here, but there was an ethos. I think you might have picked it up from your father, from what I read, but it basically goes like this. The first trimester of your life is for messing up. The second is for making your money, and the third is for giving it away.
Yeah, I love that you heard me share that quote. I think that quote came from Andrew Carnegie.
Right.
And the first trimester of your life is for making mistakes. The second for making money, and the third for giving that money away. I've been checking those boxes so far, man. It was almost exclusively mistakes in the first third of my life. Now the second third, the priority has absolutely been to be more effective and wise in a business sense. My vision for the third trimester is absolutely to give away everything that I've earned, in a kind of a philanthropic sense, with an animal sanctuary that I'm determined to open.
I know you've been passionate about animals since have you been vegan for the whole 20 years? Or because I remember you being on Wild Boys and being interested in animals as well too.
Yeah, no, like the diet has been a real moving target. I spent many years being militantly vegan. At the moment, I'm a pescatarian.
Just eating fish.
I welcome seafood is a big part of my diet. I believe it's good for me. But yeah, animals are a big deal.
All right, we're going to come back and talk to Steve-O just one more time here and answer the big question. Where is the line in Steve-O's books? You're not going to want to miss that. We will be right back with Jackass star Steve-O.
The GOAT.
Latest Smashing Pumpkins, Beguiled on 106.1 The GOAT. And before we let Steve-O get back to the bucket list tour, hitting theaters across Canada, including in Lloydminster, Tuesday, November 8th. There's still tickets for the late show at 10 o'clock. Steve-O, I know you've been asked this question a billion times. I've been asked to relay this question to you because everybody wants to know it all the time. So I'll try and frame it maybe in a bit of a different way here. So it's going to be short but three-pronged here. Where is the line for Steve-O? Is there a stunt you won't do, sort of a stunt you could do in the future, and then what you couldn't see yourself not actually doing, like the one that sticks out as I had to?
It is absolutely a commonly asked question. Predictably, when I made a YouTube video called Stunts I Backed Out Of, it was wildly popular. It's crazy because when I made the video 10 Stunts I Backed Out Of, the original, the inspiration for it was a guy reached out to me through social media in a way that got my attention and pulled on my heartstrings.
Yeah.
He was a guy who I want to say is quadriplegic, if not paraplegic, but like really, and he's got all kinds of like health issues. Like it seems like he's always in surgery. He's in a really dire situation and badly paralyzed and thinking about ways to help other people. He told me he was starting up his own charity, a nonprofit organization to people with disabilities that help equip them with the technology that would help them, like maybe wheelchairs or like various things to help people with disabilities. And I was like, oh my God, this is so crazy. Like, I absolutely want to help. So my first thought was, I'm going to make a video called it's the times, like maybe 10 times or like just like the times I came, where I came the closest to becoming paralyzed, like all of the closest calls that I've had where I could have been paralyzed. And, that's like, it's close to my heart, like something that, like I look at myself and how I've behaved, and I think like, man, what did I ever do to be so lucky that I'm walking around perfectly able-bodied when like I've done the dumbest stuff and had the closest calls. And I promised this guy I would make that video, and at the end of the video, I would turn it into a promotion for his charity.
Yeah.
And as I kind of mapped it out in my head, it occurred to me that every example on my list would ultimately be something that YouTube would have a big problem with, like YouTube's a particularly sensitive platform.
Right.
And if you show yourself risking life and limb, particularly when I do that, because I'm much more under a microscope, like, They'll give my channel a strike. They'll delete my video. I have to be like pretty careful about what I show and how I show it. And so I thought, man, I can't make times I almost got paralyzed. So instead, I decided, oh, you know what? I'll make it just 10 stunts that I backed out of, with like the emphasis on the reason why I backed out of the stunt being that I don't want to get paralyzed. Like that's my main thing. If I'm going to decide, like, not to do a stunt, like, the number one thing is, like, I don't want to my spine. I want to be careful with not end up in a wheelchair. So that would, explaining that that's like the motivation for backing out of a stunt, like gave me the segue into promoting the guy's charity. Some reservations about making that video because I thought, oh man, now here I go and I'm making a video where I don't have like a lot of video assets to like, it's going to be a video where actually nothing happens,
right.
But it didn't turn out that way too much. Like I was able to load up a bunch of rad footage into it, and I was able to unearth some stuff of me actually wimping out on stunts. And the video is a banger. The video is an absolute banger. I direct you to 10 stunts I backed out of. It's a great video.
I did actually watch that video too, and I remember the one most distinctly I remember was the wings one where you were going to go off that bungee jump off that dam, and then they just threw you off.
Right. Yeah, man, I put a lot of effort into my content creation, and I'm glad that I do for what it's worth.
So, Steve-O, that's a pretty great place to end it here, because I know you're a busy dude. You got a jet right away, and we spent a lot of time talking. But let me just say, man, I appreciate you coming on the show today. I say this as one of many kids in the goat herd that grew up watching Jackass, that this was absolutely a great chat today. And best of luck on the tour, man, and I hope that all the rest of the shows sell out for you.
Yeah, dude, killer, man. Everybody come out to see the show. It's really epic.
All right, you can catch Steve-O at the Vic Juba Theater. Show number 1 is all sold out. But there are still tickets for the 10 p.m. show. Just once again, I want to reiterate, man, don't bring the kids. This is a highly XXX rated show. Also, if you want more Steve-O related content, there is, of course, his YouTube channel at Steve-O. And he's got 2 books, Professional Idiot, and his newest book, A Hard Kick in the Nuts, What I've Learned from a Lifetime of Terrible Decisions. There's going to be tickets to the show to give away on the Goats Daily Grind and the Goats Afternoon Drive, so don't miss that as well. And hey, if you want to catch the full interview with Steve-O, it's going to be up on the Goats Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. And again, a million thank yous to Steve-O for being my guest today.
The Goat.